And welcome to South Florida. It's dark out here, but it's still really, really nice. It feels great. We are bringing you special coverage, the Road to 15. I'm Terry Brewer.
And I'm Lauren Brooks. And your home team is so happy to be here in South Florida, bringing you unique Alabama's home team coverage like only we can. And all over the next few days, we're going to take you all over South Florida, not only tell you about the fanfare leading up to the game, but also show you some of the unique things that you can do around this area.
That's right. Of course, though, the reason everyone is coming here is for this big BCS National Championship game. And here to talk a little bit about that is our sports director, Gary Harris. And this has been
matching tan.
Yes. And this has been
We're in sync.
A big day for the team.
Yeah, it really has. To get here and actually get on the practice field, I think it hits with both teams that we're close now. You know, you spend all this time in conditioning following your final game, then you start practicing back in South Bend and Tuscaloosa, but now they're here, now they're on the practice field, and they realize what's in front of them. You know, Alabama is old hat in regards to this. This is a third BCS championship game in the last 4 years. Notre Dame, it's been over 20 years, but even for Alabama, this one's different because playing Notre Dame, the historical significance of these two teams, and also the fact that national championship games are big, but this one's even bigger.
Right.
We found that out with the media hotel when they ran out of rooms, even though they'd set aside a whole block of rooms based on occupancy the last few years in the championship games, but they could not even, you know, predict how many people were going to be coming to cover this game. National and even international media, like a lot of Hawaii media is here from Manti Te'o. So it is just a huge deal, and you know, football is about relationships. And one of the best relationships on the Alabama team is between the quarterback and the center. It has to be in sync. Speaking of being in sync, because if you're not, you're going to have problems. And, you know, A.J. McCarron, the quarterback, and Barrett Jones have combined this season to form one of the best quarterback-center duos in the country. They're good friends off the field. They spend a lot of time together. And on the field, they have to get it right because a bad snap leads to bad things on offense. But even though they get along, even though they're friends, there are times they have disagreements on the field, and A.J. talked about that and who gets the last word.
As far as us bickering, you know, Coach Nuss can tell you, we go at it in practice, but I usually win that battle just because I tell them, listen, I'm the quarterback, so you're in my huddle, so let's hush on this one. But no, I mean, we go back and forth, and then me and Barrett have been really good friends for a long time.
And coming up in sports, we'll have more on Barrett Jones. He's still trying to get over that left foot injury that he suffered in the SEC championship game. We'll have an update on his health status. But something interesting about him, in addition, you know, to being a scholar, to being a humanitarian, going down to South America and helping out underprivileged kids, think about what he could accomplish on Monday night. As a freshman, a redshirt freshman in 2009, he started at right guard on a national championship team. Last year, as a redshirt junior, he started at left tackle on a national championship team. And now this year, he has an opportunity to start at center on a national championship team. That would be 3 national championships starting at 3 different positions on the offensive line. That would be amazing and probably unprecedented.
Wow. It seems like this game is history-making in so many ways, potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. For one thing, you know, it's kind of like when Alabama got back to the national championship game in 1992. It had only been 13 years, and of course 17 years in 2009. But for Notre Dame, it's been 20-plus years to have them back in this game and to have Alabama have a chance to be the first team to ever win 3 and 4 years in the BCS era and back-to-back in the BCS era. All kinds of historical significance on both sides.
Wow. You can see why fans are excited.
Yeah, and you can see why tickets are out the roof.
That's right.
My advice is, if you don't have a ticket, if you want to come, be prepared to watch it on TV.
Thanks a lot, Gary.
All right.
We'll check in with Gary a little bit later on in Home Team Sports. But, you know, when Gary talks about the history of this game, how this could be making history and the excitement and, of course, the ticket prices, you can see why the fans are really fired up. This is a really intense game, and nobody more fired up than the fans. And there is an alumni group of Alabama fans that are right here in South Florida. Even though we're not in Tuscaloosa, there's a lot of Crimson Tide fans right here in this area.
Exactly. It seems like South Florida is a long way from Alabama, but the alumni base is strong here. And, you know, they're excited about welcoming their fellow fans to their neck of the woods. The arrival really began yesterday when the team got here. Alabama fans will be arriving up until the game. And local Alabama alums tell us the past several years have been a great time to be an Alabama fan living outside of Tide Country. They also say they're proud of their UA roots, and they're excited to show the best of what South Florida has to offer to their fellow Bama fans coming for the game.
We have the Everglades on the west, we have the beach on the east, but as I drive up A1A every morning to work, there's joggers and there's swimmers and there's kayakers and paddle boarders and whatnot, so there's plenty to do on the water.
They call us the Venice of the West because the number of waterways that are here in Fort Lauderdale, the more navigable miles of waterway in this city than any other place in the country. So you can go from bar to restaurant to shopping center. You used to be able to go grocery shopping by boat if you wanted to, servicing a lot of these yachts. And to see the city from the water is to see it in its best light.
And local Alabama alums also tell us this is a really good time for student recruiting in South Florida. Lots of students making the trip up from South Florida, Alabama to go to school. So really interesting. And, you know, aside from the game, there are a lot of other things to do here. And Lynn got a chance to check some of that out today.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I got a little bit of a tan. I don't know if you can tell. I'm kind of covered up here, a little bit of a suntan. I actually got a chance to go out on the fishing boat today. It turns out when we're talking about all the fans that are headed here to South Florida, it turns out a lot of those Alabama fans, Terry, have made their way onto fishing boats, and it's no surprise, you know, fishing is a major sport here in Florida. It's the #1 state for fishing across the country. 4 million people, in fact, come here every year to get out on fishing boats, and we had a little bit of luck. I'll say a little bit, because little would be more the description of the fish that were caught on the boat that I was on. We did have one lady that caught a pretty sizable tuna, but you know, as long as you've got to have an assignment, you might as well make it on a fishing boat. And I want to thank Bradley Whittington too. He's off camera now, but I want to thank him for braving the choppy waters today. He did a great job for us, and of course we'll have that story for you as we continue our coverage. We'll have more on that and show you a little bit about how some fans are having a good time while they're here in South Florida. And while we were out there today, Terry, it was phenomenal weather. It was warm. I mean, shorts and flip-flops, perfect attire. I don't know if they're having that type of weather back home in Alabama. What do you think?
Something tells me they're not, and the person that's going to tell us what folks back at home can expect tomorrow and through the weekend is WVUA Chief Meteorologist Richard Scott with a first check of your weather.
Hey, Lynn, Terry, yeah, I'm officially jealous now. Temperatures in the 70s in South Florida, sunny earlier today. How about that? Here locally, it is cold and miserable out there. 32 Tuscaloosa, 29 in Haleyville, dealing with the freeze already at this 10 o'clock hour. And we're going to stay below freezing for about 12 hours tonight. Clear sky in place now, allowing temperatures rapidly decrease tonight. We'll have that clear sky through tomorrow, so plenty of sunshine. It gets a little bit warmer. We're talking those upper 40s. I think we go towards lunch. 52 at 3, and again, a warmer day. But it's still going to be a relatively cool day in terms of where we should be this time of year. How about the rest of the forecast? The full details are coming up.
And we took a look at Lynn's fishing trip just a few moments ago. That's just one of the things to keep folks, visitors, busy in this neck of the woods.
Yeah, one of our news reporters has traveled with us, Travis Leader. You know, you normally see him back home doing those serious news reports, but we've let Travis, we've let him away from the studios a little bit, let him get out into the wild, if you will. Travis went to the Everglades.
Yes, I did. And it was quite a blast. Me and Bradley Whittington are outdoor photog for this week. You know, he's been braving a lot of wildlife out there, and we learned a lot about our airboat ride through the Everglades. You know, this ecosystem plays a big role in the daily lives of millions of South Floridians, and the alligators are not as scary as you may think. Let's take a look. Coopertown is the oldest operating Everglades airboat tour. Owner and Captain Jesse Kennan took us on a ride throughout this vast ecosystem, which is actually a river, not a swamp.
Basically, it's very one of a kind. It's actually a freshwater river. It flows roughly about 1 mile per day, so it's very, very shallow and has a freshwater movement. It's not like a swamp. It's not landlocked, so it doesn't have the smells and the odors.
Although Kennan is in the airboat business, he also tries to help preserve this vital environment from pollution. Not only does the Everglades provide water to millions of South Florida residents, it plays a vital role for the hundreds of species which inhabit the area.
This is an area where all birds come in, migrate in by the thousands of the year to migrate and have to raise their young and go back out. So if this disappears, then they would have to find a new place to exist, so which means probably your population on birds and some of the other wildlife would actually diminish.
The king of the Everglades is the American alligator. This iconic animal is the chief carnivore of the ecosystem.
He's basically majorly nocturnal. His basically diet is off of fish, birds, turtles. He'll fish underwater. He'll lay with his mouth open and his tongue works like a trap.
You'd be amazed at how close the alligators come to your boat, and while this may be a scare for some, Kennan says they mean no harm.
It gives you a quick adrenaline rush to turn around and see an alligator about 2 feet away from you because he's just coming out to check out your curiosity. Thank goodness these are not crocodiles that's in this part here because they're a little bit more aggressive.
And kids love going out and seeing the hundreds of creatures that call the Everglades their home.
They love to just see in the open grass. They like seeing the animals, and even small children, just 2- and 3-year-olds, enjoy it.
We are coming to you live from South Florida, where there is plenty of natural beauty and, of course, fans getting ready for the Tide to roll on to a 15th national championship. Well, welcome back to South Florida. Hundreds, if not thousands, of members of the national media are here this week for this big event.
And believe it or not, not everybody's here to cover the Crimson Tide.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but Daniel Sparkman does know.
I thought they were all here for Alabama. I mean, that's what it's all about, really.
That's what I think.
That's what we think, anyway. But there are a lot of people really all over the country because Alabama has a large fan base, and so does Notre Dame. And in fact, we caught up with some people from the Fighting Irish Digital Media Group, who actually works for the University of Notre Dame, and they were heading down here. Some interesting things that they had to say, but really they're not used to covering these big events like we are in Alabama. They are members of UND.com. They drove down from South Bend yesterday, and like I was saying, this is really their first time to be down for a big national championship like this, and they have found actually a connection with their group and the University of Alabama.
Well, I've yet to, actually our lead technologist, his name's Scott Reinhardt. He's an Alabama alum, and he was an athletic trainer under Coach Bryant, and so he's been slowly, priming us for what we're going to run into, and so far about a day and a half we haven't had any problems. So we're looking forward to talking to some. We listen to Feinbaum and whatnot, coming down here to kind of pump the brakes a little bit on everything, but so far so good.
And how about that? To get ready for the coverage of the Alabama-Notre Dame game, they were listening to the Paul Feinbaum radio network, just like lots of Alabama fans do. So they were trying to do their homework on the ride down here. And so, but at the Media Hotel, there's just so many people everywhere. Really a quiet place. Talked to the managers there, and they said usually it's quiet this time of year, but you get thousands of media members, and
they're not quiet, are they?
No, not hardly.
Strange collection of people too. It's funny, you see people, regular guests that are going out in their swimwear out to the beach, and they're just kind of looking at all the cameras and going, they're hoping that they're not going to be on camera in their swimsuits. Yeah. I guess is what they're thinking.
And then right beside them, people in suits.
That's right.
Exactly. And considering the number of people who are here, there are still many more Alabama fans back home preparing to cheer on the Tide come Monday night.
A lot of people are going to hit some local businesses back home to watch the game. Our own Molly Mitchell hit one local restaurant, and here's the story.
These empty seats will be packed in just a few days. In the past 3 years, national championship games have brought local joints great business.
It's an increase of probably 200% just for that evening. We sell just tons of food, tons of barbecue, chicken, ribs, and sausage.
Alabama fans will make their way to the grill in time for the game, but prep for all those rib orders start at 3 a.m., long before the coin toss.
We cook everything fresh. We'll start early that morning, putting extra stuff on, and then when people start getting off of work around 5 o'clock, we'll be really ready for the big rush.
According to Chambliss, if you can't be in Miami, the lure of a big screen TV and fresh, hot off the pit food makes going out for the game a great option. The Pottery Grill and other businesses prosper every football season thanks to the Crimson Tide.
It's an increase of my business, especially games in town or on TV. it's an increase in business of 100%. And every retail restaurant can feel the pluses of having a winning championship football team.
While the Alabama Crimson Tide is getting ready to play Notre Dame for the national championship in Miami, local restaurants like the Pottery Grill will be all fired up, ready to serve you and your family throughout the entire game. I'm Molly Mitchell reporting in Northport for WVUA News.